Warning, heavy spoilers for One Piece episode 1129, you have been warned. Episode 1129 was incredibly emotional. I was quite curious, how does it compare to the manga? Well, I tapped in the episode number on Wiki and very fortunately they actually detail what episode adapts which chapter. And according to them, this episode adapted chapter 1095 pages 2 to 15. Literally just one chapter. Episode starts off with a couple of anime original scenes. We then cut to this main Navy guy warning his fellow Navy officers to avert their eyes from Saint Saturn. With multiple different shots in the anime versus the one panel shot in the manga, I must admit this entire sequence with the Navy officers seems to be expanded in the anime version, especially this anime original scene of Mr. Mustache Marine Man as the Marines look up in awe over the electricity lights flickering over Saint Saturn. We get another anime original sequence of Mr. Mustache Marine Man flying into scene. He, as well as the other Navy officers, are extremely offended by what Bonney just did, even though Saint Saturn is this terrifying monster. I do like how much respect they give Mr. Saint Saturn. We get another anime original sequence of all the Navy officers preparing to attack Bonney. I must say I love this sequence of Vegapunk screaming for Bonney, showing how much he cares for the gal. Although the anime did make this sequence look more goofy than it was in the manga, zooming into his mouth, Bonney does have some anime original dialogue saying "because of you," showing her hate, frustration and sadness. This entire sequence of Saint Saturn blasting Connie away in the manga was only 2 panels, so massive praise to Toei for expanding this scene, showing the fear from Bonney as she blasts away. While people seem to be hating Sanji these days, Toei did a great job at extending this sequence of Sanjay showing concern for Bonney. They had an entire sequence of him charging towards Saint Saturn. This possibly makes Sanji the first Straw Hat pirate to actually charge towards a 5 Elder, whereas in the manga it makes Sanji look like he was knocked out before he started to charge in for the attack. I'm loving how Toei are making Sanji look more heroic. This anime original scene of Franke showing concern towards Sanji is just a cherry on top of these anime original scenes. Yes, we know he saves Luffy later on, which was a pretty awesome expansion of the manga, but even though this section of the story seems to be focusing on Bonney and Kuma, it's reminding you of the bonds the Straw Hats have, which the anime seems to be doing quite well. I feel like these extra scenes of the Marines seem to try and more or less humanize these guys, showing how much they love and support Saint Saturn. I like how we have a close-up shot of Kizaru showing how much he is feeling bad over failing. Kizaru seems to be a chill guy, but seeing this extra frame shows us how disappointed he is in failing his master. Toei truly nailed this disheveled Luffy after using Gear 5. Honestly, seeing Luffy in this sorry state is honestly quite depressing. Luffy getting knocked down always adds that extra tension and suspense to the story as you don't know how things are going to go without the Warrior of Liberation. This entire sequence of Saint Saturn berating Dr. Vegapunk, showing us how much of the high ground he has, is more or less well adapted from manga to anime. This sequence does nothing but just shows us how evil and brutal Saint Saturn is. The fact that he wants all of these guys to die with regret over rebelling is a pretty sick and twisted way of showing how much power he has. But as much as I hate this guy, I can't lie, this entire sequence of him about to blast these guys away looked pretty sick. It was great because it was anime original, and him being a brute is also pushed further in the anime as we see all of these side characters show their fear and hatred towards Saint Saturn compared to the one manga panel in the manga. The extra shadow around Bonney's face was a nice touch by Toei, further showing her anger and frustration towards Saint Saturn, her desire for revenge. The anime has these extra scenes of Bonney struggling in the palms of Saint Saturn. Toei just wants you to feel so much pain in this episode by watching these characters suffer. Toei also added extra scenes of the Navy about to shoot Bonney. The mini flashback of Bonney remembering the time Kuma taught her the Nika dance really impressed me because this was only one panel in the manga. The fact that they were able to make a whole dance sequence from this one panel just shows you the talent of the Toei animators and artists. Bonney is truly in a pickle right here, and before we can find out what happened to her, we flash back 46 27 years ago to when Kuma was born. This is where I feel like Toei really shined in this episode. All the flashback scenes that you see from the moment Kuma was born up until when that man comes into Kuma's family home crying over the Marines about to capture them was only about 4 panels in the manga, whereas the anime had multiple scenes and new scenes, further expanding Kuma's home country. Man, Toei just cannot give us a break. This one page of Kuma's father begging his wife and child to be spared was only 1 panel in the manga, but they made this entire sequence of him getting beaten up. Toei truly wants us to cry watching this entire sequence. I do like the extra added scenes of Kuma's mom. As she barely gets any page time in the manga, it does appear that this entire sequence of Kuma saying goodbye to his mom and father is anime original. Of course, this scene could also be in future chapters, although the One Piece wiki did say that this episode only adapted the 1 chapter. I feel like all the scenes of Kuma getting beaten up by the celestial dragons feels like a metaphor for Toei just beating us up with all the added scenes, because there were only 3 panels of this entire sequence in the manga. I do like this added scene of Kuma and his father being reunited before this panel of Kuma and his father talking. Toei just wants us to really feel sympathetic towards Kuma and his father. The 4 panels of Kuma's father talking about what happened to his mom were beautifully adapted into the anime, and I think it just made it even more harder to watch in my opinion. The entire sequence of Kuma's father talking about the sun god Nika was only 3 panels in the manga. The anime really expanded the scene. I think they did this to really show us how much Kuma's father had hope in his eyes when it came to Nika, and how much Nika means to all of the prisoners in the Celestial Dragons' homes. I think the cut from Kuma's father being Control-Alt-Deleted to the Celestial Dragons talking about God Valley in the next scene was absolutely nasty in the anime. It cuts to poor Kuma's sad face to this horrible looking Celestial Dragon. The manga does not have any of these close-up shots of these Celestial Dragons. Toei is doing everything in their power to make us hate these dragons. This sequence of this king getting sliced up like salami was only 2 panels in the manga. It truly felt like a very cinematic moment in the anime. I really like the build up towards Holy Knight Saint Figureland Garland with him covered in shadow before we see his face, versus the manga as after he Control-Alt-Deleted the king, it immediately cuts to his face reveal in the manga. I like this scene of Kuma breaking out of the cage, showing the audience his immense strength despite his young age, and I like how we had the scene of the prisoners being forced to chase after Kuma, which more or less humanizes them in the anime. And once again, Toei yet again expanded a really painful scene. It was only 2 pages in the manga, but in the anime it is this really long drawn out beatdown of Kuma, and Toei cut into the faces of the prisoners who were beating up Kuma, just humanizes the characters even more. And it ends on Ginny and Ivanko and how she seems to be the mother of Bonney. This was a really amazingly adapted episode. Toei Animations truly went above and beyond to try and make us hate the world government as much as they did, and to really make us feel sorry for Kuma, as a lot of these emotional scenes were expanded on from the manga. Normally anime would cut out scenes, but I like how One Piece is adding scenes in to expand Oda's world even more. But tell me in the comments down below, what did you guys think of this episode? Did you like or hate it? Tell me. If you liked this video, subscribe for more One Piece videos as well as other anime news updates, reviews, comparisons, breakdowns, rankings and more. But thank you for watching, and as always, a boy dude review signing out.